On February 10th, Chris Mellon called out Edward Snowden with this tweet. I see Edward Snowden espousing the view that the U.S. government is using an alien threat to justify increased defense spending. In fact, as anyone following the comments of Dr. Kirkpatrick lately, or any other administration at any time knows, the U.S. government is doing precisely the opposite, as it always has, flatly denying there is any evidence at all of aliens. The issue has only become a topic of discussion because a couple of former insiders and Navy pilots engaged the press and Congress. Finally, given what is transpiring in Ukraine, the Middle East, and the Pacific, the U.S. government doesn't need to invent bogus reasons to justify increased defense spending. Anyone who believes the U.S. government is leveraging UAP to justify increased defense spending is plainly out of touch with the facts. I quote Chris Mellon's tweet and tweet myself, I can't stand this rhetoric that is based on ideology and not facts. It drives me mad because people say it so often and believe it so often, even though it's clearly false. Since the close of Project Blue Book, the Air Force and military-industrial complex has been downplaying UFOs. This hasn't changed. Am I going to need to write another article about this? I kind of don't want to, but I've taken sufficient notes over the years to demolish this idea. If my concentration improves, I will write this article that builds upon my last one, linked to my last article in the follow-up tweet. Regarding my latest article, I will link to it in the description box below. But for now, I want to share an essay I wrote inspired by Chris Mellon's justified call-out of Edward Snowden. Please bear in mind that this was a quick response, and I may do a thorough treatment designed for an article at a later time. Nevertheless, let's begin my video essay, shall we? The idea that the US government is planning on or is hyping a manufactured alien threat narrative to fund the military-industrial complex is such a wrong-headed idea given the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. I have numerous citations that back up this analysis, which I may use in a future article. For now, here are two that I'll share to whet your palate. On September 22nd, the Secretary of the Air Force, Frank Kendall, was on CBS Mornings when Tony Dokoupil asked him,
From where you sit, are UFOs a real issue?
To be quite honest, not for me. I have real threats that I worry about every day, and they're severe threats. I'm aware of, I don't have direct responsibility for investigating these phenomena. I've looked at the reports, I've seen what's been there. There are things that we haven't been able to explain, but I think that the important thing for us to do is do some real technical investigation of what they are and try to resolve these.
I'm curious about what you really do worry about. You said it's not a worry for you. What do you really worry about as you sit here today with us?
China.
Here's another sign that no alien threat narrative is brewing in contrast to what some UFO influencers would have you believe. Last August, an article in The Hill published titled, "I'm in the Space Force, please stop asking me about UFOs." Here's the final paragraph from that article. Quote, "Our work might be the difference between victory and defeat against a technologically advanced adversary. Unless the adversary is in fact extraterrestrial. In that case, I fear that the Space Force may be of limited use." These two citations are in addition to Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick having recently been flatly denying there is any evidence at all of aliens, as Chris Mellon pointed out in the tweet I showed you in the beginning of this video. Listen, if the DoD was in the process of generating a fabricated alien threat narrative, you would think that at the very minimum, they would get Dr. Kirkpatrick to give some credence to an alien presence. Furthermore, people like David Grush have faced horrific reprisals for trying to tell the public about the UFO issue. Wake up, fam. Put on your thinking cap and recognize that the national security apparatus does not want disclosure. And if we finally ever do get disclosure, assuming I'm right about the UFO issue, we'll probably never hear a peep, or we will not hear a peep about abductions by anyone in the US government, at least not in the short term. And furthermore, I think government officials will also detest talking about the UFO and nuke connection, partly because it underscores how inferior our technology is compared to theirs, whoever they are. In other words, in my opinion, the national security apparatus will likely either not broach or will downplay all the angles associated with alien intelligence that could be used to promote a threat narrative if disclosure ever dawns. If anything, they may focus on the need to master the anomalous technology before adversaries do, concentrating on how the UFO issue creates terrestrial threats. That's the most likely way they would use UFOs to increase defense funding. Look, I'm not claiming it's impossible they'd use aliens to try to increase military funding, though. I'm just saying there is no reason to be paranoid about that, even if it may be a good idea to be cautious of it. Also, has anyone ever considered the logistics of pulling this kind of psyop off upon the entire world? It's so weird that people act like it would be easy for the military intelligence complex to persuade everyone to have the same ideas about this enigma. Moreover, comparing the manufacturing of an alien threat to the lies about Iraq and weapons of mass destruction is a false equivalence, since one deals with something we terrestrially understand and overtly deal with geopolitically, while the other literally deals with a deep mystery that we can't even sufficiently define, and that may encompass many different phenomena of mysterious origin. And how would the DoD persuade the world that we could win a conflict with aliens so much further advanced than us? Just think for a moment how scientists would respond to such a, what I consider, ridiculous notion. Picture this. For decades, the scientific community has scoffed at the UFO issue, but suddenly, DoD bureaucrats emerge, beginning to hype up an alien threat. And you think scientists that have often been hostile toward the UFO issue for decades won't demand evidence for the DoD's sounding the alarm on how dangerous aliens are? And what happens if the evidence provided to scientists is weak or faulty? Now, the DoD has to deal with the public relations nightmare of being accused of fabricating alien UFOs as a threat. That's beyond embarrassing and bizarre, and the media would have a field day with that. And how exactly is the military intelligence complex going to gain our trust regarding alien threat accusations after being overtly adamant for 70 plus years that not only is there nothing to see here, but there is no threat to national security? To be clear, UFO intelligence could be a real threat. We don't even know why they're here. So I'm not suggesting there are necessarily no dangers associated with UAP or aliens. What I am saying is that the national security apparatus shows no signs of desiring to accentuate those potential threats. at least in regard to UAP that stem from non-human intelligence. If they did plan or were planning to perpetuate a threat narrative as some influential UFO influencers tried to sell us, then I don't think Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick would be promoting the notion that there's nothing to see here as far as aliens are concerned. Let's get real. The unfolding UFO situation is messy, and it's more akin to what Jeremy Corbell calls UFO Vietnam versus some cockamamie theoretical plan orchestrated by the government to scare the world about alien UFOs. I have seen both skeptics and believers hype the idea that the US government is busy promoting an alien threat narrative, and I take no pleasure in saying that it's my opinion that they have been selling us all a bill of goods. Ironically, acting as agents of disinformation, all the while accusing people like Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon as being operatives to help increase the defense budget by promoting a fabricated alien threat narrative. The irony of that should be lost on nobody. In a post-disclosure world, I personally don't think that the trajectory we've seen for 70 plus years of the defense establishment downplaying UFOs as a national security threat will change, since there's no effort to prop up a UFO alien threat narrative right now, or for that matter, since the New York Times article dropped in 2017. Where are people coming up with these weird theories that are not only not backed up by the evidence, but the evidence actually debunks this theory? Let's not lose sight of the reality that accentuating the threat aspects of UFOs puts the military in a poor light overall, since they want to be perceived as being in control and fully capable of defending their airspace, waters, and people. And that's the darndest thing, isn't it? The UFO issue makes our protectors look like they really don't have full control over what happens to us. Probably a big reason why the cover-up has endured for so long. Sup fam, just making a UFO YouTube video, no big deal. Sorry I haven't posted in a while. I was having some concentration issues which made doing so impossible, but I feel much better today, so let's go forward. And I have a lot of videos I want to do, a lot of ideas I want to cover, but certainly I want to cover a lot of what's taken place recently with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and the interviews he's did, the article he was a part of, and so forth. That may be a very extensive video, but it's so important for UFO history on the path toward, in my opinion, UFO disclosure, that I certainly want it to be part of my library on this channel and to sharing that with you. But that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You could become a patron. You could become a YouTube member. You could give me a one-time donation. All those potentialities can be accessed in the description box below. Or you could just slap a like on this bad boy, and I will appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Special thanks to all patrons, YouTube members, those that have bought merch, those that have given me a one-time donation. I couldn't do without you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.